The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I trust lunch was absolutely delicious.
I second that.
And then the problem is when they ask you to speak after lunch, I'm reminded of Idi Amin when he was invited to have dinner with the Queen. He got up to speak, and he wanted to let the Queen that he had had enough, and his belly was full. He got up and said, "Your Majesty, dinner was Coca-Colastic, of course." First of all, he had had Coca-Cola, and the person before him had spoken, had Fanta. He said dinner was fantastic. So he heard Fanta stick. Because he had Coca-Cola, he said Coca-Colastic. And I want you to know that I am fed up. That when you come to Uganda, he was going to revenge. My brother, I would like to let you know that lunch was fantastic, and when you come to DC, I am going to revenge. Once again, we are here to talk about the matters of the village. There are issues in our village, and I appreciate the opportunity for us to come together as members of the village to address the issues together. With what I know of the issues that are keeping us together, the difficulties that we are having as African diaspora, continental diaspora, and as African diaspora as African Americans, I know many of us have tried to go home to make a difference, and many of us have come back because the conditions on the ground were not conducive to what we wanted to offer. I used to take doctors on medical missions, and you would end up with a whole neurosurgeon, orthopedic surgeon, treating ear infections and sore throats, because that's all they could do. The country did not have the facilities they needed to do what they do best. Now, there are other reasons why some of us have gone home and come back. And I'm going to hit this nail by the head because it's something that we must speak to. When we go to Africa as continental Africans who've been to, in my husband's country of Ghana, we call these people like me, Bintus. I've been to America, I've been to Britain. We Bintus, we got issues. We go back home with an attitude. We think just because we've been to, we know more than the ones at home. That attitude has got to change. And it's one of the reasons why many people are not making it when the Bintus go back home. We also have African Americans who go to Africa thinking, I'm going to tell the Africans, I know more than the Africans. Well, guess what? You're wrong. Because Africans have a lot to teach you too. So there's a need for an attitude adjustment, realization that we have something to offer, but they too have something to offer us. What is needed is for us to work together, because united and understanding each other, that's the only way we can come together in a meaningful way and build the Africa that we want. At the African Union Mission, that's one of my mandates, two main mandates. One, to promote Africa in the Americas, and the second one, to bring the diaspora home by any means necessary. With that understanding, I sat down to ask myself, how then do I go about, one, taking this very diverse, interesting group of people who don't like each other? How do I go about bringing them together so we can go home? Looking at the issues that we are dealing with on this side of the Atlantic as well as the opposite side, I came to the conclusion that the only way we can effectively go back home as African diaspora to accomplish two things. One, yes, to bring the expertise that is needed, but two, I remember 2 years ago, President Trump was addressing the African heads of states, and he said, I don't know why you guys are poor. My friends go to Africa poor, they come back rich. Are you with me? So for those who think the African heads of states are calling you to come home because they just want your money, wrong. We are saying, if you don't show up and you stand up and be counted, next time the contracts go to the Chinese, shut up. How do we give you contracts when we don't know where you are? How do we know about your business when you don't stand up? And that is the challenge the African heads of states are running into. Next Tuesday, I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there's a conference going on in Nairobi. Former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga, is now over infrastructure. His advisor called, one of the Afro-Champion advisors called me and said, Ambassador, we need you to put together a coalition of African diaspora who can come in and be together with Afro-Champions, be the first to know of the projects, the developmental projects that are going on in Africa. There is nothing wrong with diaspora organizations building the next Cape to Cairo highway, the next Cape to Cairo high-speed train. You can only get those contracts when you are on the table. You heard my sister talk about, what did you call it?
Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
Pan-African Chamber of Commerce.
Pan-African Chamber of Commerce, but even when you talk about the single currency, when we have, there's something else you talked about, I just can't think right now. These are all opportunities that are going to happen in Africa at a continental level. You got to realize, because of the African Continental Free Trade Area, for the first time ever, Africa is going to, the developmental agenda for Africa, we are looking at it as Africa, not as 55 different countries. So this is a tremendous entry point, that if you diaspora, if we don't organize, we are going to miss out. The heads of states are saying the diaspora must be in the front along with the Afro-Champions. They're wanting to create a space for us. We got our 22nd ratification, which is what we needed in order for implementation to begin, was 2 weeks ago. We are talking of a baby who has just been born. I want everybody to be clear about that. We are in a beautiful place to be on the driver's seat of the agenda, developmental agenda for Africa. So please, if you hear anything else from me, this is the time for us to organize and stand up, and let's take Africa where Africa belongs on the world stage. But in the process, we're also helping ourselves. There is nothing wrong with you investing your money in Africa, coming back home to America and play golf like they do. That's what we want you to do. So don't look at it any other way. It's a win-win situation. So with that in mind, in Washington, we set out to then say, where do we begin? Fortunately for us, first it was the president of Zambia. He stood up and he gave us 135 hectares of land, which is about 300 acres. And when the president of Zimbabwe heard about the 135 hectares, he said, my sister, why are they giving you 135 acres? Zambia has a lot of land. He said, you see, Victoria Falls, for those of you who don't know Victoria Falls, Google it, it's a beautiful place. It's one of the best tourist destinations in Africa. He said, Victoria Falls is like a woman. When you're looking at her from the Zambian side, you're looking at her back. But when you're looking at her from Zimbabwe, the choice is yours, which view you want. So he proceeded to give us 2,000 hectares. So we have been offered 2,000 hectares of land on the Zimbabwe side of Victoria Falls along the Zambezi River. Prime location. There, ladies and gentlemen, we, the African diaspora, in collaboration with our brothers and sisters on the continent, we are going to build our very own Wakanda. We're calling it African Diaspora Centers of Excellence. Why are we building Wakanda? Money alone is not enough to bring change, sustainable change that Africa needs. Capacity building is where it is at. Most of you may not realize that Africa today needs 1.2 million doctors. If all the diaspora, continental Africans and African-American doctors were to go home to Africa today, we're only going to meet about 30% of the need. Many heads of states thought building new hospitals, renovating old ones was the way to address the issues of healthcare. Guess what? Most of those wards, half of them are empty because there are no doctors. I like to talk about my husband's country, my own country, Ghana. There are more Ghanaian doctors in New York City alone than in the entire country of Ghana. So when diaspora start complaining about, oh, my mother was trying to go to the doctor, I said, because you're here. So our reality is capacity is what Africa needs. And where is that capacity? It's in the diaspora, thanks to the brain drain. At every level, every sector, the capacity Africa needs is in the diaspora, not on the continent. $7 billion is being spent every year paying salaries to expatriates going to Africa to provide services. And when I ask, why is it that you never get diaspora to fill some of those jobs? They say, Ambassador, where are they? It goes back to the database. At every level, we are losing out because we are scattered. So in Wakanda, there will be a 1,000-bed teaching hospital to train all the capacity that Africa needs. There will be one Wakanda village in each region, which will be a developmental hub for the region. So for every hospital built, there will be supporting hospitals. Also, we will have a university with technical colleges to train again all the capacity Africa needs. Agricultural farm and an agricultural college, hotels for hospitality, a continent with some of the best tourist destinations. We're only realizing about 4% of the tourism dollars in the world. Agriculture for a continent with over 65% of the arable land in the world, we are importing food. I am embarrassed to say that. Africa should be and will be the breadbasket of the world. In addition, in our Wakanda, we're also going to have a pharmaceutical manufacturing. Most of you are also not aware that most of the sub-Saharan African countries, drugs going into those countries, close to 50% have zero bioavailability. That means they are not medication. They are chalk, in some cases, poisonous substances. Millions of people are dying every year thinking they are taking blood pressure medicines, diabetic medicines, antibiotics, when they're taking poison. Those are murderers, outside murderers coming in. Millions of them every day. And nobody is held accountable. We have got to stop that. We must manufacture our own drugs. And of course, there will be a power plant, infrastructure, housing to support the development. It's going to be a very modern city with roads that are ready for self-driving cars, monorails for easy transport around the village. It's going to be how Africa should be. We will build the Africa that we want. For everything that's happening in Wakanda, there is going to be downstream development. You can picture this. A team of healthcare workers whose job is to do nothing but to make sure 15, 20 years from now, access to healthcare is a thing of the past. Educators who are saying 15, 20 years from now, access to healthcare is a thing of the past. Access to power is a thing of the past. Access to water is a thing of the past. We have teams from the diaspora working on the various sectors. Can we not do that, guys? Absolutely, yes we can. And all we gotta do is organize, because the brains that we need are endless in the diaspora. Then the question becomes, Ambassador, how are we going to fund this? I said, that's easy. We got 50 million black people in this country, 41 African Americans and about 9 million continental Africans. If I just get 1 million of those to put aside $1,000 a year, that's $1 billion. Can we not do that? If I take 5 million, now we're only down to $200 a year. And we got $1 billion. And we take that money, we leverage it and just keep it in the account. Don't touch it, just leverage it. And not put another penny. We can get $1 billion every year out of that money to build Wakanda. Can we not do that? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
We can do this. We want the NGOs out of our countries. We want no more aid. Aid is killing us. We don't need aid because we are very capable of taking care of ourselves, especially you, us, diaspora, to whom much is given, much is expected. We can do this. We live in this wonderful, great country. When my last conversation with Chairman Zuma, she said to me, my sister, if sustainable development is going to come to Africa, it's going to be brought by the diaspora, but not just any diaspora, the diaspora in America. The diaspora in America. Think about it. There's something unique about being a diaspora in this country. We already live as Americans, not as Californians, not as Floridians, but Americans. Subconsciously, we're already integrated. So moving into Africa is a piece of cake. So the African leaders and my chairman, Musa Faki Mahamat, they're very clear that in order for Africa to move forward, the children of Africa in the diaspora must be front, middle, and end of it all. So I look forward to our conversations, but I hope that we can all be in the right spirit and agree that we must speak as one continent, one Africa, one voice. Thank you.
We'll move down and begin with you, and then we'll start at